Hello and welcome to Baatcheet with Cafemutual. I am Riddhima Bhatnagar. Today we have here with us Pratik Oswal, Head of Passive Funds at Motilal Oswal AMC. Hello Pratik.
Hi, nice, good to be here.
Pratik, I want to start by asking that MOSL is leader in the passives category. So, what do you think are the three things that have contributed to this? And even Cafe Mutual has awarded MOSL award in the four categories for index and ETFs. So, what do you think could be the three reasons why you know it has been doing so good?
Obviously, this is a better question to ask other people, because, I'm obviously biased because, it's our own company. But in my perspective, the three reasons where we've done well is number one is education. I think there's no other AMC in the country that has done as much education on, passives, indexing, on, how to, create wealth using passive funds, how to simplify investing. So one is education. The second is, I would say, innovation. I think we have a lot of funds, about 35 funds today, out of which maybe around 25 to 27 of them are our industry firsts.
Hmm.
So I think we were the first ones to launch a lot of categories in India, and we're also the largest asset management in international funds, which I think is a category that we created from scratch. So I think innovation is in our DNA, and hopefully we'll be able to continuously innovate. The third is efficiency. I think in passive funds, the most important criteria is efficiency. You have to track the index as closely as possible, and I think we've really ensured that we have the most efficient funds in the country. So because we believe that how much ever sales and marketing you do, if your funds are inefficient, no one will invest in them. So I think these are the three reasons why we think we've done well. I think education, innovation, and efficiency.
So, my next question is that a lot of people don't know about mutual funds, forget passives. So, how do you think the mutual fund distributors can educate their clients about passives?
Yeah, so I think awareness has only grown over the last few years. We believe that the biggest impediment towards adopting passives in a very big way is awareness, and I think slowly you're seeing a lot more MFDs, RIs talking about passives with their customers, trying to educate them as to why they are, and also trying to allocate say 20-30% of the portfolios into passives, which is so we have about 6,000 MFDs who are invested in our funds. So it's not a new thing anymore. It's a scaling up thing. The second is I think today we live in a world where there's so much information on social media. Googling is much easier. So I think customer awareness has also gone up. So I think customers are also a lot more curious about what these things are and how they work. Also I think that as someone on the panel also said, passives add a lot of interesting flavor to your portfolio. A lot of actively managed funds are very simple, but I think passives offer a lot of differentiates. I mean, you can have international funds, you can have a lot of other categories which are innovative. So I think in that sense, I think it adds a lot of innovation to your portfolio itself.
Yes. MFDs are doing so well in the active space. Why do you think they should look at passives?
I think they don't have to be honest. I think staying in active is good enough. I've always maintained, and I know a lot of MFDs who are very clear that they don't want to do passives, and I respect that, to be honest. I think that clarity and conviction is important. But I feel like as a space, there right now you are seeing a lot more need for passives in the portfolio. I think if you asked me the same question 5 years ago, then I would agree with the MFD that maybe passives are not as efficient. But today, passive funds are extremely efficient. A lot of people are investing in them. About 70% of our mutual fund AUM is in passive funds. A lot of options today. Passive funds performance is very good. So I think if you look at the large cap space, it's almost become obvious that you should add one passive fund in your large cap exposure. So I think it's gone from being obscure towards becoming an important part of your portfolio. And lastly, even AMCs are investing in research, in sales, in sort of servicing. So I think a lot of the complaints were that AMC people have funds but they don't service us. But now that's changing. So I think a lot of MFDs are getting a lot more support in this space which wasn't there before.
So, a lot of MFDs think that passives are not economically viable. What is your view on this?
So I agree with that. I think passives may not be economically viable because there are caps put in by the regulator. But I feel like it's the ability to scale up the business. It is a lot higher in passives. I've been here for the industry for 5 years, And I've seen that the MFDs who adopt passive actually are growing at a much faster rate. I think what we've seen is that asking for a say a 10 lakh or a 20 lakhs is as opposed to 1 crore is much easier in passive because there's a history, track record, all of that is there. So I think MFDs can expect scaling up their business a lot easier. And second is also, I think, MFDs will have to look at the value that each passive fund creates. Like, you have to look at the product value. And if the product value makes sense, then I think it makes sense to offer it to your customer. So in general, I feel that we feel that it makes sense to have an allocation towards passive. I think the future portfolio is going to be a combination of an active passive, not active or passive. If you look at the US, where passive funds will be around for half a century, an average portfolio for an advisor will be 50 active, 50 passive. Obviously, 50 might be a bit high to India, but we believe that having an allocation makes a lot more sense as opposed to comparing between the two.
Thank you so much for those insights. That was all from today's session for Batcheet. See you next time.